But oh damn it, I have that intro video. Oh fuck, I wanted him to see it. All
Well,
right. Well,
save it,
yeah, but it's an intro.
right? I mean, you could still save
That's
it.
that's all right. I'll save it for when Joe gets here. Anyways, so we are live.
We are live.
Everybody, church is having hardware issues, so he's here. He's just in the background, and I'm sure he'll he'll be throwing shit in the chat for me to tell you guys as we go along. But
And Joe
uh,
is
he'll be
running
here.
behind schedule. It does happen.
Yeah,
So we're
yeah,
going to start off by talking about some Guardians of
we
the
are.
Galaxy.
So
That is
you're
why I have taken on this newly, freshly made
and
AI art avatar.
that's why I'm using this avatar. I don't know if you can see what it is.
I mean, there's something very important in the middle of those letters that I can see. I mean, everything else is
uh,
kind of
I,
confusing.
Einbrett caught it right away. But so Guardians of the Galaxy, first thoughts.
Well, I would actually go with your thoughts because you're not the person who takes films apart in their brain.
What? How dare you?
I mean, you're not the person who like takes a saw blade to a movie and vivisects it like an
uh,
alien autopsy.
I don't know. My dissection of Marvel's race war
Yeah,
was fairly surgical, if I will say. But no, it was aggressively okay.
I would say it's
Does,
passively aggressively okay.
if that makes sense. Like I'd give it a 5.5 to 6 out of 10 as far as in comparison to recent Marvel movies.
It is solidly mid.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about the movie first. We need to put some context on the table. James Gunn, he ain't doing any more of these movies. Uh,
Uh,
James Gunn's
he,
brother, even though James Gunn's brother was thrown in at the after credit scene, he's not going to do any more of these movies, obviously. Chris Pratt
okay.
isn't going to do any more of these movies. Zoe Saldana isn't going to do any more of these movies.
Mm.
Karen Gillian isn't going to do any more of these movies. Dave
So
Bautista isn't going to do any more of these movies.
that mid credit scene makes a lot more sense then.
It do. I
Okay.
mean, Chris Pratt will probably come in for whatever they're doing with Avengers 5 and 6, unless they reboot that um, idea 2 or 3 times between now and then. But there will be a dump truck of money that'll be poured on top of Chris Pratt to make that happen.
Well, if they still have a dump truck of money to give him at that point.
Well, that is going to be a problem for Disney in the future. But by that point in time, all the movie studios may be having a shortage of dump trucks of money.
That's true. I'm
So
sure I'm sure we
he
have an
might
article
take
for that later.
he might take a smaller dump truck of money.
Yeah, okay. Like a
So
gator.
like a gator, exactly. It might be like a really big cooler full of money.
Yeah. A couple of Yetis.
So that context sort of adds to the performance, the acting, and everything. But this movie helped me crystallize a lot of my problems with the pop culture genre entertainment scene right now. Because
Okay.
Marvel Comics race war, right? Other than talking about Chadwick Boseman, did you feel anybody gave a shit about what they were doing?
Oh, no. Well, uh um
The
Bill
writer,
Bill
the writing, the directing,
oh, like the technical crew? No. I would say Bilbo, he felt like he was putting in a
right?
solid
But
performance,
but
but
realistically, the only things they gave a shit about was saying, "Man, we sure miss Chadwick Boseman. We all feel
right.
really bad about him dying from cancer." That was the only parts of that movie that felt like anybody gave a shit. Those were also the only parts of that movie that were any good.
Right.
So Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, did
Uh,
anybody feel like they gave a shit other than that one scene where Sam Raimi got to do Sam Raimi things in it?
yeah, outside of that, no, that movie was a fucking slog fest.
Now, Spider-Man: No Way Home, there's all sorts of stuff there where people felt like they were giving a shit, right?
See, I don't know. I didn't. I enjoyed Guardians 3 more than I did Spider-Man No Way Home.
Well, we're not talking about whether you like better or not. We're right now going with my thesis is that the reason we're having a decline in all of these nerd pop culture IPs is the people making the movies don't give a shit. People making the TV shows don't give a shit.
Well,
like they clearly gave a shit in season 1 of The Mandalorian. They gave less of a shit in season 2, and they didn't give a shit in season 3.
Let's characterize what you mean by don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about the actual like story, the characters, the continuity,
the quality of their performance. They're just there to get paid. And in fact, they really wish they weren't getting paid for this, but somebody came to them with a dump truck full of money. And I mean, Ayrton, if somebody came to you with a dump truck full of money, you'd do a lot of things.
I would, but I would say there's the one thing that they do give a shit about in these is the message.
I don't believe they do.
You don't think they do?
I don't believe they give a shit about, as the drinker would call it, the message. That's why they're so bad at communicating the message.
I think they're bad at communicating the message because the message is just shit.
Who are we talking about not being able to communicate the message?
We're talking about Guardians 3.
Right, but we're talking more broadly right now about actors in nerd pop culture films and productions.
Okay, I need to step away for a second, but this is a situation where Larry and I actually agree, but I'm sure we disagree in different smaller areas. So I'll be right back.
Okay.
Right on. So anyway, this
can you guys hear me?
We can.
Yes.
We can. Okay. Big Papa Church. So this was my thing when I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy 3 that sort of crystallized in my mind why all these things are dropping off of a fucking cliff is because the people responsible for them don't give a shit. They're just there to collect something and they're trying to insert their own thing in there. But they don't even really give a shit about their thing.
And we're still talking about like the production crew.
And the performers and the writers and the directors.
I disagree with the performers with Guardians and with
no. In Guardians, they give a shit. But we're gonna get to the part of the Guardians that was weird, is where they didn't give a shit. But we'll get to that in a moment when Rune gets back.
Well, I would say that even though Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was terrible, it still felt like Wong and Benedict Cumberbatch still cared about the characters they were playing.
Flappy back.
Yes. The material they were given was just dog shit. Like, they still tried, you know?
Mm-hmm. But that's... They're trying with the material they had. Let's just use, the gold standard is motherfucking... what's-his-face who played Starkiller, or fucking Superman / Gareth of Rivia. We have actors who can give a shit and we're going, no, that's dumb. I'm not going to do it. Could you imagine if Benedict Happyback just said to the Doctor Strange movies, listen, I'm leaving because this is stupid? I mean, and then there'd be like a thing, creative differences. We can't have a second Doctor Strange movie, which means we can't introduce America Chavez, which is, send everything into a giant tailspin. They would have done what they needed to do.
See, I would say that's more of having like integrity versus giving a shit about the character you're performing.
Hollywood doesn't have integrity ever.
Well, number one, they don't have integrity. But number two, if you give a shit, you have to have integrity as a component of giving a shit. Because if you don't have integrity, you just do whatever you're doing for money.
No, see, I disagree. As a performer for a long time, there's plenty of performances I've been a part of where I gave a shit about what I was performing, even though the stuff I was performing was kind of stupid, right? I still put into it the best I could.
Right, but like if it was really bad, like absolutely god awful.
There,
You'd say, listen.
There were some that were pretty bad.
Like, was there ever anything so bad that you'd like say, listen, if I play here, no one's ever going to give me a gig because they're going to associate me with this?
Nothing ever that bad.
Right.
But
So that's the thing. When you're a guy like Whammy Bam Happy Back, you can just say, hey, listen, if I'm part of too many of these things, no one's going to hire me.
But
so I'm not going
to the contract.
That's not true. Look at Nick Cage.
Too. Right. Well,
no, that's different though, because Nick Cage actually believes in every one of those roles that he does, because he believes in a type of performance. Like the thing where he was basically playing in Five Nights at Freddy's. He came up with this weird idea.
That one.
He came up with this weird idea for a performance. Like, well, yeah, okay. Where he basically acted like he wasn't talking to anybody in the rest of the movie.
I don't know. I think as a performer, even if the material is downright terrible, you can still give a shit about what you're performing.
So let me kind of segue back to Guardians 3.
Yes.
So I want to talk about, there's a part of Guardians 3 that kind of worked. That we're talking about, hey, things end. And sometimes it's important about not only just how they end, but how you deal with their ending. When the movie was talking about that kind of stuff, that was good. The problem is they didn't really think about how all these characters were going to get to the end of the bus stop.
Yeah.
And so the way these characters got to the end of the bus stop didn't make any sense whatsoever.
The biggest thing that didn't make any sense to me, and I might be wrong on my memory on this, but at the end of Endgame, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Quill, like he was a little shaken and stuff about Gamora being back, from the past and stuff, but like he was still okay. Like he was still Peter Quill, and then we jumped to this, and he's like in a depressive state, drinking himself to death.
Well, this is several years later,
and I was so confused.
Well, no, this is several years later, and Gamora just went off and did her own thing. So, the woman he loved not only died, but she came back, but it wasn't the woman he loved. It was a woman from several years previously.
Right.
And she was a bitch.
Yeah, but as far as we know, they didn't really have much interaction until this story. So I'm still confused why he was in that state.
Because for him, that had been several years of the woman he loved living her life and not being with him, which is kind of, Chris Pratt tapping into some of his divorce mojo.
Okay. I don't know. It felt, it was a bit jarring to me.
No, I can get that. It wasn't particularly jarring to me, but that was because they just established, oh yeah, he's been getting drunk since his woman left him. Now, Church, as a man of culture from Toadsuck, Arkansas, you encounter that all the time, right?
Oh yeah.
People whose women leave them and they get drunk.
I mean,
I also encounter people whose women stay with them and they get drunk.
Church, are you that second person?
No, of course not.
No, he's saying they get drunk because the woman is still with them.
I mean, I'm just saying, Mrs. Church has enabled Church to drink on at least one occasion with us. So
yeah, but Church drinks for
because
fun.
She loves me.
Yeah,
exactly.
Mrs. Church is great.
Exactly. So the problem is like, they came up with an arc for all these characters to get to the end of the line, and none of the arcs really emotionally paid off.
Except I thought
so
I thought Rocket, what they did with Rocket, I thought that was
we're gonna
nice.
Get to we're gonna get to a little bit of a spoiler. So
yeah, go ahead, give me some juicy spoilers. I'm not paying to see this.
So for those of you listening in our audience as a micro influencer, you'll be hearing spoilers. So the character
I have to go kill myself now that you just called us that.
Well, look. You can say that you're the world's
We
largest
influence
penis. Yeah,
we
you-
influence our audience to drink.
exactly. So
I'm alive.
Peter Quill. We're at the spoiler section of the Guardians of the Galaxy review room. So Peter Quill decided to deal with the fact that his mom died and he'd ran away. And then his dad got killed by his real dad, and the woman he loved died. He also got finger snapped out of reality for 5 years, and the woman he loved came back, but it wasn't the woman he loved. He decided to solve that problem by retiring from being a space badass to take care of his grandfather.
Which I thought
On
that was a nice scene. I will say
That was nice.
Grandfather on mom's side, I'm assuming. Not,
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
daddy
yeah.
ego.
Yeah. So that was nice if there had been a setup and a
Right.
payoff, but
Right.
there wasn't a setup. So there
Right,
was so basically here have this thing that would be nice if it was paying anything off.
Right. I would say it was nice the way they filmed it, and Chris Pratt did an amazing job with that whole scene.
Yes, that
But-
scene was nice, but if you put that scene in this thing called a
But-
movie,
Yes.
which is a composition of multiple scenes, it
Yes,
doesn't
in
make any sense.
Yeah, in the context, it's very, very weird. I will say though, there were a couple bad character things that I didn't like, but the things
Hold up.
hold on.
We're spoiling the character arcs.
Yes. Well, one of the ones that I did like was how they shifted Mantis and Quill into a brother-sister relationship.
Which is something that got covered in the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special.
Oh, okay. I didn't watch that. But
yeah, that got officially revealed in the Christmas special.
But I thought that was actually kind of cool. Like the way they did it actually made sense.
One of our big problems in media at large right now is the expectation that you, the consumer, will watch everything. You must consume everything.
I mean, you didn't really need to see it to just get it. Like saying, hey, we're siblings.
I'm just saying in general.
Yes.
That with the structure of these films, because I liked Guardians 1 and 2, I should only have had to have watched Guardians 1, 2, and 3. Everything else should have been like icing for me to watch.
Right, no, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Really.
The holiday special is icing, as was the I Am Groot series.
Right, but those should have been released after 3, not before.
Well, Rune, so the brother sister thing, they just kind of throw it at you, like
right.
I forget who says, like, when they're trying to take care of Quill when he's drunk, they're like, well, he's your brother, and you're like, wait, what?
That would be that'd be Nebula.
Yes,
that'd be
Nebula.
So
says that
who is a just a repository of good family values.
Well, hold on.
Actually, she is. We have to get to that part here.
We'll get to that.
We're getting there.
So they give you that line, and if you don't watch the other stuff, you're kind of like, wait, what? And then you remember that, oh, okay, Ego made Mantis, and he was Quill's father, so they're technically brother and sister. And then
they have a few other elements in there.
Right, you make the connection fairly quickly of why they're doing that, so you don't have to watch the other stuff. But
so
I liked it. I like their kind of sibling. As somebody who has two sisters, like we kind of interact like that to some level.
It's gonna make for a weird porn parody, though.
Right. But like,
well, hold on.
One of my sisters, I'll.
Wait. Do we want to hear the story here?
Yes. Well, it's not a story. When I was having emotional issues when I was going through my divorce, my sisters took care of me and kind of helped me in a similar way when I had much more of a drinking problem in a similar way. So I thought it was a nice touch.
So basically, they just remake Fat Thor with
no. So again, we're getting off track here.
Fat Thor was gay.
Look,
Peter Quill has done well.
I just want to say this, and I want Larry to take over. It sounds like they actually address that Peter Quill has things to be upset about, rather than just having Thor sit on his ass and get fat.
Yes, they did, but
they did.
They did, but they didn't explain it well.
But we're going to get to all that. But first, I'm talking about the character arc and trajectories from everybody here.
Hi, Darb.
So Gamora joined the Ravagers after coming back as a past time clone of herself, and she was a bitch. She didn't like Peter Quill because Peter Quill was a simp for her, but eventually she liked Peter Quill but didn't stay with him. And then she went back to the Ravagers. So basically, her entire role in the movie was almost nothing. She literally drove the car. That was literally her. She got them into one base that they needed to be in, and then she drove the car. She did two things to advance the plot of the whole movie.
Are you saying green women are bad chauffeurs?
Well, she did crash the ship, so.
Wait, isn't she Asian?
That's true.
Zoe Saldana is not Asian. She's Hispanic.
No, that's even worse.
So
She didn't even have a license then.
So not only does her emotional arc for
Church, she had a green card. She was green.
so her emotional character arc not only doesn't make sense in this movie, doesn't pay off over the whole 3 arc of the movie. She was basically nothing in this movie. Now we get to Nebula. Nebula is the first one who has.
Let me comment on Gamora. She was the worst part of this movie.
She was.
She was so boring, and her character did nothing.
Let me ask a stupid question. Is it the same actress throughout? Because I'm reasonably
sure
there was a swap. Okay.
Nope, same actress throughout.
All right.
So Nebula.
So she can be better. She's just choosing not to be.
No, the material
Nebula,
she was given.
She was given almost nothing.
Right.
Yeah, her performance was good, but what they gave her was shit.
I'm just throwing out there. It's like Guardians 1, Guardians 2, Gamera's pretty with it. You're saying Guardians 3, arm candy at best.
No, he's talking about Nebula, really, but
no, Nebula's coming up next. Nebula has something not only substantive, but her emotional arc makes sense. So
Nebula was actually really good.
So as the consequences of all the shit she's experienced, she's become the teen mom. And then once the movie comes to an end, she's running the refugee compound that's in Nowhere, which is the whole city that's inside of Dead Celestial's head. So she grows to become a leader of a community of people.
Planet
that
is a Dead Celestial's head.
So what you're saying is that they had 2. I'm gonna use their terminology. 2 powerful female leads and couldn't decide which one to go with, so they decided to shit can one to make the other one interesting.
Well, we're going to get to the 3rd female lead next. So, Mantis's emotional arc is also dumb and doesn't make any sense. She said, I just need to go figure out me right now. I need to break up with Drax, leave the team, and just go figure shit out.
So, I disagree with you that it's dumb. I mean, it is. But
it doesn't make sense for her character over her character's trajectory.
Hear me out. To me, it felt like a rib on the stereotypical like white girl needing to find herself, and she goes and backpacks through Europe for like 6 months. And it felt like a play, like a joke on that to me.
Now, what they could have done that would have been interesting is they could have played on her character from the comic and tied it into the shitty villain. But we'll get to the shitty villain in a moment.
See, I'm not familiar. I'm actually not familiar with the Guardians in the comics that much.
No. Let's just address that off the top.
Neither are the movies.
I want to address this right off the top real quick because I think it's very pertinent to where you're going, Larry. The High Evolutionary is not a Guardians villain. The High Evolutionary is barely a villain and has nothing to do with Rocket Raccoon's origin. This is something they put together. Yeah, this is something they put together in a lab with Legos in a back room under a single.
Yes. That's actually. We're going over our main characters, then we're going to go into the 2 antagonists.
I'm just saying that as we get there, consider it's not that they had a shitty villain; they didn't have a villain.
What's
up? We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
How's it going, man?
So,
long time no see.
Hey.
Anyways,
so Drax has a character arc that makes sense in this movie.
Okay.
It's not a lot of the character arc. Basically, it's like,
But
hey, you're a
but
big
it's
dumb guy that kids like, so you're
He's a Drax-sized character arc because he's Drax.
yes. So you're a
It
big
makes
dumb
sense.
you're a big dumb guy who kids like, so we're gonna get a bunch of orphans and you're gonna be the nanny for the orphans.
Well, hold on. There was more to it than that. There was the big everyone saying Drax is stupid and stuff like that throughout the
right,
movie.
but that's the payoff of the stupid thing. That's the payoff is he's not stupid. His value is children like him.
Well, there's more to it than that, because in the first movie they talk about how his family, including his daughter, was killed by Thanos. So I thought the payoff of him being able to actually communicate and connect with the children from the high evolutionary, I thought it was nice. It was it was heartwarming.
It is. It is. That has value. And that's also because Dave Bautista, as the actor, does really well with kids in performances. And that is something most actors struggle with. So that's good.
I just wanted to, it's not because the character Drax kids like. I think it's more than that. I think they kind of they inadvertently set it up.
Kids like him because he's a dad. Kids like him because he's a dad, and he's got dad in it.
Adults don't like him because he's Dave Bautista.
And there again,
Dave Bautista is a scumbag.
Well, and there again, we need to justify. We are talking about MCU Drax, because comic Drax is an entirely different, altogether more sad character with different problems.
Yes. We're talking solely in this movie. We'll do the comics comparison later.
Now we're going to get to the most important character in this movie, which is Rocket Raccoon, who's barely in this movie because he's essentially in a coma for like 2/3 of the movie. And we see flashbacks.
Well, so
this is terrible.
Well,
this is terrible.
I like the premise of it. The execution was terrible.
That's what I'm saying.
You mean because they didn't do the comics? That execution?
Again, I don't know the comics.
We're not going to get into the comics right now. So, like Ayrton says, the idea for what they're doing for this movie isn't bad, but instead of being able to explain it in a better way, where the characters have to go through something, nope, he's in coma, and he's having coma dreams about his past with his animal friends, who are all horrific experiments with the high evolutionary, like saying, hey, what'd be cool if I give a walrus human level intelligence and also give him wheels.
Yeah, I was really.
And
that's a really weird way to introduce Sid from Toy Story into the
MCU. Also, what if I get a rabbit, give the rabbit human level intelligence, give it like a Bane mask and spider legs?
Then it would be awesome.
And what if I get an otter and give an otter
the rabbit was actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, and give the otter robot arms. And then we get.
And I see nothing wrong with this premise.
Right.
Watch Guardians 3. I'll send you a link.
It's just it's just not the high evolutionary, but we'll get to that.
Right, we're going to get to that. But the issue I have is not so much that this backstory is bad as an idea. It takes up too much time in the movie.
Right.
You want to say that Rocket is a experiment of the high evolutionary who has something secret and important the high evolutionary needs to advance his work? Just have the high evolutionary kidnap Rocket. Our hero is going to save Rocket. We have the villain taunting Rocket, talking about stuff, talking about his dead friends that Rocket got killed. And then Rocket says, no, you killed them. And there's a little bit of a face-off, which literally ties into the face-off later in the movie. That would have been better than coma dreams. And we have to get something to uncoma Rocket.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna change it. I think it would have been better to open with a sequence, condense down all the coma dreams into one scene, and then have Rocket kind of wake up from a nightmare or something like that. Because he just went through the trauma of Infinity War and Endgame and stuff, right? So he's
Yeah.
having a little like PTSD sort of thing.
I
And
mean,
then
But again,
hold
that
on,
takes
hold
up
on,
a
hold
lot
on.
of valuable real estate in the movie.
Well, you can make it like 4 minutes. You could condense all that down pretty easily.
I mean, I could riff on that.
But hold on. Let me finish.
Rocket wakes up from like nightmares and goes off, and now people have to like, where's Rocket? Why is Rocket? Where did Rocket go? You can do the same thing. You don't specifically have to have him go in a coma.
Right. And
Yeah.
so I would do it that way, and then have Adam Warlock come in and kidnap him and do the whole we have to save him. But
We're going to get to Adam Warlock here in a second.
Hold on. I will say Quill, the way Chris Pratt portrayed Peter Quill's like dread of losing Rocket
because Rocket's his best friend, and that was connected to all of his other themes of loss. That all worked.
Yes, that part was done very well. The way they interjected Rocket's backstory was terrible. So I think if you front loaded it, gave us a quick backstory montage flashback, have him kidnapped, and then have Peter Quill kind of like I have to save my best friend thing, I think that would have worked much better, because it was so distracting to be flipping back and forth the way they did it.
So we're going to now go to Adam Warlock and the High Evolutionary, the supposed antagonists of this movie, who were both done dirty.
Well,
okay. Adam Warlock was basically a himbo with Silver Surfer powers.
Yes. Adam Warlock was so boring and was inconsequential to the whole movie. He was a gold guy that flew around and blew shit up.
He had mommy issues.
Yes.
Because his mommy was that gold lady from the second movie.
Which was entertaining. I'm not going to lie. It was kind of funny to me, but...
It wasn't funny to me because Adam Warlock is actually a really cool character.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It was...
One of the few beings in the Marvel Universe with the power to actually stand toe-to-toe with a gauntleted Thanos.
Well, yep. It came across as like a Homelander sort of thing. Like he would be drinking.
No, it didn't. It didn't, because he was more innocent than Homelander. He was literally a himbo who was just doing stuff because people told him.
Also, from a different angle, Homelander's the problem. Homelander has set a standard for distaffed supermen in superhero media right now.
I'm not saying it's not a problem.
Not welcome.
The character,
it was the portrayal was fine. Like, it wasn't great, but I didn't think it was terrible.
And the character arc for Adam Warlock is the Guardian saved him because I am Groot, which translated as, because in the movie, one of the bits for Groot is everybody except Gamora could understand Groot. So when he said I am Groot, everyone deserves a second chance. So when Peter Quill nearly kills himself, Adam Warlock saves him. And thus, Adam Warlock is now on Team Good Guy, just barely, and he's there in the post-credits scene.
Why didn't Quill have his like mask and jet boots that he's had for every single movie?
Because they loved playing in this movie with, oh no, someone's gonna die. But we're gonna get to that in a moment.
Also, because despite having been around for a while, and he was on Parks and Rec and so on, Chris Pratt is now a bigger actor, so he needs more face time to make more money.
Yes, that's actually Actors Guild issue, but we'll get to that in a moment. So the High Evolutionary is...
hold on. Let me frame my context of what I know about the High Evolutionary, which is the cartoon Spider-Man Unlimited.
Which is not a very good representation of the High Evolutionary.
But it is much better than this movie.
That is my context. I can't think off the top of my head any comics I've read with him in the story.
The High Evolutionary is responsible for Phoenix.
He's responsible for a lot of things.
And from what I remember from the cartoon, is the High Evolutionary is a very like sinister, calm, collected, like James Bond-esque sort of villain.
He isn't that, but he's not a villain.
He's not. He's not a villain. Basically, he wants to evolve everything to its highest form.
Yeah.
Now, there's potential for abuse there, and that often comes up. But the fact of the matter is unlike, say, Reed Richards, who's a do-gooding busybody, right? Or Thanos, who's a world-destroying psychopath. Sometimes.
Also a busybody.
Also a
Or
busybody.
Doom, a megalomaniac.
Right. The High Evolutionary wants to be left alone in his fucking lab to work on theory. That's all he does. Right.
Yep.
So
and then every so often he does like test subjects and gives them a chance to roam around.
So the Mountain of Wundagore, where all the anthropomorphic animal people in Marvel Earth come from, it's one of his labs. But he doesn't.
You know why that's one of his labs?
Because Magneto patroned him.
No, Mr. Sinister did.
Yeah, Mr. Sinister also wants to be left alone in his fucking lab in the Savage Land.
Yeah, well, they've ruined that, but we'll move on.
But what I was getting at though is that anytime the High Evolutionary has appeared in a comic, it is even when he's appeared in space, because he has actually appeared in Guardians books. It is less he is a villain, and it is more people have showed up to bother him, and he said like, "Why is your problem my issue?"
Well, and
listen,
from what I remember,
I'm here in my lab.
Right.
From what I remember from the Spider-Man cartoon, is he created a secondary Earth
counter
on
the opposite side of the sun.
Not something he made, but yeah.
Hold on, he made it as like an experiment, and Peter and J. Jonah Jameson's son accidentally ended up there, and that's the conflict.
That cartoon is a good example of the problem we're talking about with Guardians here, is that is made up of a bunch of different pieces, of a bunch of different stories, and a bunch of different setting material.
Which I'm sure it is.
Thrown into a big pot.
So let me get into the problem with the High Evolutionary in this movie. We don't understand his motives. He's just really fucking angry that he can't get his science done the way he wants it to, and his lab results aren't working out, and everybody who works for him is stupid.
And that's why I brought up I thought he was supposed to be more kind of like cold and calculated, because he was too emotional and had too many like outbursts and stuff.
But more importantly, he was emotional for no real reason.
I mean, being pissed off that people are fucking with his lab is actually on brand.
No. He was just mad that his science wasn't coming out the way he wanted it to.
Right. So the premise, Rune, is he's doing these experiments, and Rocket, as a young experiment, I guess, is able to figure out some weird gene thing by looking at his machines. Hold on. So Rocket figures that out. And so he goes to move to the next phase. He's going to eliminate all of the other experiments from that phase.
But he does want to vivisect Rocket's brain.
Yes, besides Rocket, and he wants to dissect Rocket's brain to figure out how Rocket learns like creative thinking. And he escapes and yada, yada, yada. And now he's trying to get him back. But so the whole premise is none of his experiments, no matter how perfect, quote unquote, he makes them, they can't produce creative thinking. So
I disagree. There's an octopus man who's selling meth to cockroach people. That's pretty creative.
Well,
but so his premise is he's trying to capture Rocket to get his brain so he can figure out why Rocket figured out this creative thinking. That's the whole thing, and he gets progressively more angry and unhinged as his plans keep failing.
Well, see, I was going to say that wanting to vivisect Rocket's brain to figure out a secret because his constructs are not perfect is, again, almost on brand. But as you say, that the problem is getting more and more unhinged and freaking out is not on brand.
And that's the thing I was confused about.
If we're up to talking about comics, and I'll start with the High Evolutionary, I don't mind. The High Evolutionary's thing is that he is one of a suite of scientists, so like a group of scientists, who artificially evolved himself. He made himself a meta genius.
Yeah, he's like Sinister, kind of.
Sinister, if Sinister was any kind of good. That's the mind you, I like Mr. Sinister. Okay. But Mr. Sinister is a Victorian psychopath trying to figure out mutants and mutants alone. The High Evolutionary is actually trying to evolve the human race in aggregate with real science.
At one point in time, the High Evolutionary turned Hercules into a galaxy.
Right, it gets trippy. But the important thing here is that if you tell me the High Evolutionary is going to be the bad guy, okay, because the High Evolutionary is after some science, okay, and the High Evolutionary has a intricate 32-step plan that involves fucking over the Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm down. But he's not a villain who flips out when, you challenged me, let us fight like in movies. He's a villain who stands over there over his lab, still doing science, and is like, why would I fight you? I have people for this. And then you introduce a CGI monster for them to punch. Where we really get into the problem, taking a step back, is Rocket. Because in order to purport this origin, to introduce the High Evolutionary, they said, hey, you know what would be great? What if we just fucked up Rocket Raccoon's origin? An incredibly simple, fun origin that kids would love. Okay. The origin of Rocket Raccoon is as thus. Okay. And this is extra good when you think about the whole Gamera Quill dichotomy. Rocket Raccoon is a space cop. He's an actual cop with a girlfriend, right? From the world, Half-World. Half of which is factories and machines, and half of which is an intergalactic insane asylum. Because all of the people kept there, low security, non-dangerous people with mental issues, are carefully curated by uplifted animals. Because they found that if we give the inmates pets, they're much more calm. Right? And it's not, oh god, they're all horrific, freakish body horror critters. It's straight up, they're cartoon characters. It's what if it was a planet of cartoon characters taking care of crazy people? It's great. And Rocket Raccoon is the most famous, bestest space cop on Half-World, who got space misplaced because he was chasing an actual bad guy from his world. What happens when one of the animals goes bad?
No, Super Adaptoid is different than Amazo. Because he gets his powers from a fragment of a god he has inside him. So the gist of the movie is Rocket gets beat up by Adam Warlock, who's trying to kidnap him because he's incompetent, and his heart's broken. And there's a IP thing inside it that says you're not allowed to tamper with the stuff in here. So the Guardians have to go break into the biotech factory to get the MacGuffin's user manual.
I made a Microsoft joke when you were saying about software you can't hack into.
And so when they get the MacGuffin thing, they find out that one of the recorders went in and stole all the information they need about the MacGuffin. So they have to go to Counter-Earth to find the High Evolutionary. And they find the recorder who has the stuff.
Sorry, real quick. Another thing I kind of liked was the way they portrayed the Counter-Earth.
Yeah, no. Counter-Earth is like Earth in the 1980s.
Yeah, it's like 80s with like weird animal creatures. I don't know. I thought it was fun.
I mean, that's how Counter-Earth is supposed to work. And Peter Quill uses solid D&D thinking. He leaps out. He throws the recorder out the building. He jumps out the building. Groot flies down and helps him get to the ground.
That was weird.
and then he brutally murders the recorder and takes his brain computer out so that he can fix Rocket. Gamora crashes the ship. Then they go into space and they find out all the rest of the team is trapped on the High Evolutionary ship. And the High Evolutionary has a bunch of kids. So they have to fight their way on the High Evolutionary ship to get the kids. And then, Rocket realizes that all the animal experiments are there because the message for this movie is animal experimentation is wrong. And so Rocket and the team risk their deaths to save a bunch of animals, even though it could literally risk killing all of the humans on Nowhere, including all of the children they just saved. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, that part doesn't make any sense. I'll give you that. But as I was watching it, my brain was going to Fauci and his experimentation on the beagles, where he had sandflies eating their faces and while they were alive and removed their vocal cords so the scientists didn't have to listen to them yelling. Which
right.
I will say, I would do the same thing that the Guardians did to the High Evolutionary to Fauci if I could get away with it.
Right. So and then the big reveal.
Christ.
The big reveal is that Rocket Raccoon ate the High Evolutionary's face off.
Well,
as a raccoon would be one to do.
I thought he scratched the hell out of his face.
No, he's a raccoon. He ate the face off.
All right.
It's not explicitly said, but it's a thing a raccoon would do. They would eat a face.
Yeah, that's fair.
We are thinking about the children because the children did get saved. And there was a F-bomb in the movie where the villain had his face pulled off and he looked like a ooey gooey skeleton man, which should be what people should be more concerned about for the children. And then everybody went their separate ways. Rocket leads a new team, and they have Phyla Vell being one of the children who was on the High Evolutionary's ship for some reason. Also, the Cosmo the dog was there.
I was going to get to that. I really, really enjoyed the portrayal of Cosmo the space dog.
I mean, the little B plot with Cosmo the space dog and the brother of the director of the movie was amusing because he said she was a bad dog, and like a real dog, she was really unhappy about being called a bad dog.
Yeah, and it was a plot point throughout the entire movie until the fight in Nowhere where she saves him and he goes, you are a good dog.
And they had Howard the Duck for a cameo.
I really enjoyed the Cosmo the dog stuff.
And I was angry that they only had Howard the Duck in for a cameo and not for anything more substantive than that.
I will agree with that.
And that was the movie. It was not very good, but it was mid. It was mid mainly because the actors cared about their portrayals. The director cared. It had all of the visual hallmarks of James Gunn being weird. Nathan Fillion was wasted on a cameo. Sylvester Stallone was wasted on a cameo.
Like I said, aggressively okay.
And that is Guardians of the Galaxy 3, everybody.
And
but I want to give a good review before we slide into talking about the writer's strike.
But before you do that, I have the intro video. Since we're an hour in, I'm going to play the intro video now. All right?
Okay.
Okay.
What the fuck, Ayrton?
So, I watched a TV series on Netflix from Japan called.
I forgot Church wasn't here last week. I figured out how to do that last week.
So I watched a TV show from Japan called Sanctuary because Netflix said, "Hey, buddy, you might like this show." And I'm like,
"Hey, buddy."
So the show Sanctuary is about a sumo wrestler who doesn't like the rules and tradition of sumo wrestling, and he wants to upend the system, and he learns some stuff and grows.
Is his name Happy Gilmore?
It is not Happy Gilmore. No. And the sumo school is on the edge of bankruptcy, which one of the characters says, "Hey, that sounds like something that would happen in a movie." Also, there's a female reporter who's an ultra feminist in Japan who doesn't like how sexist and abusive. Yes, I incorrect it was. Who's very upset that sumo culture is sexist and abusive, but she grows to learn, and she's gonna become a better person because she became a sumo reporter. And of course, the guy who wants to become the head of the sumo association hates the poor, struggling sumo school. And there's an aging senior sumo guy who eventually becomes crippled and can't be a sumo wrestler anymore. So the protagonist has to step up. It was good. Now it was not original. It was every sports TV show and movie trope you could imagine, but for sumo. So it's interesting to me because
it sounds kind of like Karate Kid.
It's like Karate Kid and like Major League and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But it was interesting because it was about sumo wrestlers. And I was engaged because, I don't know that much about sumo wrestling. And I learned some stuff and I had a good time.
Yes, Brian. He's referring to the penis.
Also, the main character sumo.
That's what most people say when they see it.
Yeah. And the main character sumo wrestler also owes some money, so he has to sell to a gay fan of the sumo club, like, sexy pictures of his fellow club members to help pay for his dad's medical care. Because it has weird Japanese humor.
Hold on, give me that sentence one more time. Let me.
So he has to sell. He has to sell weird pictures of the members of his sumo club to a gay fan because he needs money to pay for his dad's medical care.
You're gonna make me look up sexy female sumo wrestlers now, aren't you?
Well, no. These are guys because it's for a gay fan.
I know, but I need to see female ones because
there are no female sumo.
There are no female sumo.
And there's anyways.
The other weird Japanese humor thing is the asshole in the club, because there's always an asshole in the club, had his underwear super glued to his ass. That was a sensible chuckle. And of course, there's scandals and all that sort of stuff. But there's something that Rune and I have both been wanting to talk about that's coming up. And if you see the Google Drive link there in the private chat, the Writers Guild of America is having a strike with all of the production companies, and we got a copy of what they're asking for and what they're being offered.
Oh boy!
And what they're asking for is fairly reasonable, and there's not that far apart on a lot of things.
No matter how reasonable it is, fuck them.
Well, we're going to get to that. So the one of the demands that they want that got rejected out of hand is weekly pay. 50% pay upon commencement, the remaining 50% to be paid out weekly over the writing period. Applies if the writers paid less than 250% of the minimums. Writers above this threshold have the right to opt into weekly pay. They rejected that. I mean, that's, I can understand both sides there. Also, they're wanting to get paid for working in the green room and pre-production. The producers didn't make a counteroffer on that. And the other big thing is AI-assisted writing. Also, there's disputes over residuals, but the residuals are not that far apart there. They also want to have a viewership-based residuals for streaming shows, and that got rejected out of hand. And residuals based off of budget, that got rejected out of hand. They asked for pension and health care. That got rejected out of hand. Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, the union want to regulate the use of artificial intelligence on all projects. AI can't write or rewrite literary material, can't be used as source material, and covered materials can't be used to train AI. So the union wants AI completely out. And the counteroffer is, we'll talk about it every year.
The counteroffer should have been fuck you.
So there's the thing. There is a strong rumor that at least one show was written 100% by AI or bots. And that show is Rings of Power. And there are rumors.
That would explain a lot.
Yes. No, it does. And if you've ever actually tried to get stories written by AI art bots, it explains a whole lot. And there are rumors of other shows. Now, I tried to ask my sources in the industry, who's everybody talking about for rumors. None of them want to talk about that. That's to give you an idea of how radioactive that allegation is in the industry. They will deflect that. In fact, one guy, when I made a comment about saying, well, people are saying Rings of Power is one of those things, and he said, and I quote, if Rings of Power was written by an AI, it would have been more coherent.
I was going to say, if Rings of Power was written by an AI, then I don't understand what they're scared of.
I mean, that is part of the problem. So, Rune, would you like to go at this for a little bit?
Okay, well, Larry and I had a very brief passing conversation about this because we didn't want to eat up all of the good stuff. And it's a complicated position for me to be in because on one level, writers are criminally underpaid, always have been. They get shafted consistently by the system. And that goes across multiple industries, right? The writer component, because it is not visually seen, is not seen as valuable. Even though the writer makes the bones of a work and good writing can elevate a work, right? But it's a collaborative process.
Also, the studios and the suits want to have all the power for themselves,
right?
And less power for the writers and the actors and all that stuff.
On the other hand, okay, this is all very much what I like to call chickens roost, because specifically the Hollywood writers for film have been riding high on the hog for so long, and you find this a lot in trad media, because you get it in literature as well, where they first attained accomplishment and then quietly tried to close the door behind themselves to limit out all of those weirdos with dangerous ideas and opinions. And they made it not meritocratic. There was a narrow window of time where television, film, and books at least credence the idea that if you had talent as a raw metric, you could get ahead. Now it is entirely nepotistic. And the problem is that this means that they are completely shitting themselves, because not only do they know that if AI replaces them, they're not getting work anywhere else, right? But if AI replaces them, there will be less work for everyone involved everywhere.
The goal would basically be AI would write something and they would go about editing what the AI wrote, so it wouldn't look weird.
Which is admittedly how it should be, frankly.
Now, Ayrton, if you could pull up some of the things from the writer's strike, they have some strike signs that show that they really don't get who they're writing for. And that is literally their problem.
Well, while Ayrton's pulling that up, because this goes back to something we were talking about right at the beginning when I first came in, but I had to step away to deal with something. We were talking about the message and, do these people believe in the message? And you and I have talked about at great length before the idea of the message, and Hollywood is a monolith that everyone has to agree, and all these other things. So in the realm of justifying terms, right? Psychological dissonance is when you hold two beliefs that are absolutely true to you that are oppositional. Okay? I put to you that talent, the actual existence of talent, is the ability to have two beliefs that disagree and present the one you don't believe in with acuity. Okay? And if we go with that definition, you create a continuum. So on one end, you have the true believers who really believe and have talent, and those people are rare, right? And then you have a multitude who have no talent, but they believe, right? And then you have groups who have no talent and don't believe in anything, right? And at the far edge,
I feel attacked.
And then at the far edge, you have people who both don't believe but have talent, right? And this is pertinent because when we start talking about, well, what is the message? What are these people in Hollywood, right? It's a multitude of people who believe. They believe what they're saying, but they lack the talent to say it.
So what I was saying earlier when you came in is, I don't believe these people really care. I believe they feel like they have to performatively state what they believe. And I don't believe they give a shit about it.
And that's the thing, is I agree with you. I think that there are some, absolutely, who don't believe, don't have talent, or do have talent, but they know what side their bread is buttered on, and they'll say whatever's required of them to get by.
The people who are super into it, like, your Ed Asners and your Jane Fondas, are the exception that proves the rule.
Right. Absolutely.
But a lot of these
things they're also into it because they're the ones that have nothing to lose from it. They've already made their money.
Which is often the case.
But a lot of these signs are talking about, like, I like this, like you like a strong female, like an angry female protagonist. So what they're saying is the audience, to try to build sympathy to the people who view these products, is saying, like, hey, that thing that I do that you don't like, well, this is just like that. So what you're telling me is, it's bad, or you're saying that the suits are doing it, and you're trying to make fun of the suits. So basically, you're trying to piss off the people you're trying to influence on both sides of the labor triangle here. They need to gain support of the audiences or support of management, and they're really not doing a good job at either.
I mean, unions are gay in general, personally. So,
also,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Also, Aaron, can you pull up that 4chan one that I have posted there? Yes. Blow that up on the screen too.
But let me tell you guys a little story, very very short story, about the club that I was routed out of, and one of the people who is a cheat and a liar who was responsible for me getting kicked out of that club. I had a conversation with him once. He and I at afters hanging out, and he discussed his perspective on why he played a certain character type in a certain way, and I think it's pertinent here. There's this character type that is broken. Everyone knows it's broken. The writer of it said, "We made a mistake. It's not supposed to be like that. Please edit." And of course, the club was like, "No, we're not going to edit it because we're idiots." Right? So this person felt that it was their personal self-appointed duty to both play that character and show everyone how abusive and wrong it is because he could. Not out of a moral consequence. It's not like I have to do this because it's the right thing to do. Not because, it was a joke, but just because, well, if they're not going to fix it, I'm going to exploit it. I don't give a shit. Right? And that is what I think is going on here to some degree. Is you have people who have belief systems that no one likes, right? Presented in the worst possible way, and their interpretation is well, I'm going to say it just because I can, because there's no reason I shouldn't, even though there's every reason you fucking shouldn't. Right?
There's all sorts of complicated corporate politics arguments about it, but at the end of the day, these people, if they cared about it, like Guillermo del Toro in The Shape of Water. The Shape of Water had all sorts of left-wing Freudian stuff in it that Guillermo del Toro really cared about.
Yeah.
And it was all there, and it was expressed with passion and artistic vision.
Right. He has that ineffable talent.
Pan's Labyrinth has all sorts of comic gobbledygook from the Spanish Revolution put in that movie, and also framed around, a fairy story. And again, it all worked because he gave a shit.
Right.
And giving a shit is, I think, for writers especially, is a core component of talent. If you don't give a shit about what you're writing, it's not going to be good.
Again, you're a writer in Hollywood. Get over your fucking self.
Well, see, here's the thing, because I think this is an important qualifier that I think gets misplaced. It's not just that you need to care, because you don't have to actually care about.
Well, I'm not saying care. I'm saying give a shit. Giving a shit is different than care.
I'm just saying you don't actually have to give a shit about what you're working on in terms of its content. If you came to me and said, "Joe, I want you to write a script for Bikini Boobs 26, The Boobening," I don't really give a shit. I'm just writing on a piece of porn, right?
Ayrton, but you need to say those exact words that Joe just said.
Right, just save that shit. But you should care about your own expectation of quality.
Honestly, right? I would pass that off to Ayrton to write over Rune.
If it's Oh, sure. Yeah, no. I'm just saying. If you're a creative in an industry, right?
And her tits felt like a bag of sand.
If
I
you're
played
creative
cornhole with the left one.
if you're a creative in an industry and you're given a shit job, it can be shit. You cannot care about it. You cannot give a shit at all, right? It could be a really great. It could be a really great job, and you could really hate it because you know it's going to be corporate product. But you need to
give a shit about yourself,
right? You have to have the self-respect to care about the quality of your work in your environment.
As someone who's been in this exact position before, let me explain to you guys how it actually goes. I mean, Larry, I think you might have been here before, but I worked
speaking on the mountain
designer. I worked as a graphic designer for 18 years, and I sat down and I designed some of the most horrific and stupidest shit that I could have ever come up with, because that's what the customer wanted. And I would go to work and I would grit my teeth and I would put that shit out in the most aesthetically pleasing way that I possibly could every single day, because that's what put food on my table.
Right. But the thing is,
you gave a shit, though.
The thing is,
I gave a shit about my name being attached to this piece of shit that I'm being forced to create.
Exactly that.
Yes.
You cared about your work for your own ability to basically look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm providing for my family and I'm doing the best I can. All right?
Yeah.
The problem here is we're talking about young professionals, and I strain to use that term, who go to work and they're like, I don't care. They're paying me anyway. I'll just throw some shit together. I don't even I don't even care to give my best.
A lot of them went to high school with people whose moms and dads were Hollywood executives, so they asked their friend to help them get a job.
Right.
A lot of the people, like a little guy you might have heard of called J.J. Abrams, went to a Hollywood prep school. That's why he's one of the biggest directors in the world right now.
Well, and again, I think we're glossing over the issue of unions in general. So at a point in history, I will agree there was some necessity for workplace safety and stuff, even though that's
hard labor is a different conversation about unions.
Well, let
me finish
these Hollywood jobs.
Let me finish, because I'm getting there. There are industries where if you have a union, it is cringe and gay. That's any public sector job, teachers, police, firemen. I don't give a shit. If you're a union in the public sector, go fuck yourself. All right. You are paid by stolen money. I don't give a shit what your work conditions are like. You're getting paid because somebody's pointing a gun to my head and saying, give me money or else I'm going to throw you in jail or kill you if you don't comply. And the second issue with unions is shit like this.
Right.
You're creative. You're doing a gig. You don't have a job. You don't have a career. You are getting paid by the gig you're doing. I've been doing this for years. You sit and negotiate personally with the person who is paying you for said gig. Get fucked with your union.
Are you sitting down? Are your pants off? Are you ready?
Yes.
I agree with you.
What the fuck?
Here's the thing.
Wait.
Problem.
Hold on.
Yeah. You can only get so erect.
Okay, there's not a meteor coming towards us. All right, continue.
So here's the problem, okay? When writers in the previous generation, the writers of the 1960s and 1950s of Hollywood, would have talked about corporate exploitation, okay, and why they needed a guild, why there's been a guild since the beginning. It's because of things like, if we use the Screen Actors Guild for the moment, because I referred to it earlier. If you can put a dude in a helmet and he can just be that actor, right? Then you don't need to pay that actor, and the corpos will exploit that. They will just take that and run.
Fuck them. Do it.
No, that's wrong.
No, it's not.
No. If I'm the actor and I was in that helmet, I deserve to get paid. Right.
Also related to this, there were original considerations of a world where there was these things you might have heard of called TV networks. And
Right.
the companies and the guilds, both the acting guilds and the writing guilds, said, hey, after so many shows, you agree to pay us so much money per the episodes going out on residuals.
Right.
Well, now we live in a world called streaming where that doesn't happen. And where
Right.
streaming services arbitrarily cancel shows so they don't have to pay out those sort of
Right.
payouts.
There's a bunch of particulars, but the basic idea is that the suits at the top, in their pursuit of cutting what they perceive as fat, right, will find ways to separate you from your due for the work you did. Okay? And if they don't think that your job matters, they will absolutely not pay you. That's why Hollywood functions on an entire underclass of interns and people who get coffee, because they're unpaid slave labor that's hoping they can get some screen time. All right?
You know,
This,
literally, Kathleen Kennedy is running Lucasfilm and destroying Star Wars because she paid her dues by getting Steven Spielberg coffee. And every so often saying, hey, Steven, wouldn't it be funny if this happened? And he says, hey, Kathleen, wouldn't it be funny if you got me some cream for my coffee?
And I think we all agree that this is bad. On the other hand,
I don't necessarily.
On the other hand, because this is where you and I do agree, right? Yeah, no. Once you have position, or once you have used that to gain authority, right? That is not the encouragement to then blow other people's chances for your own aggrandizement, right? What they need is a fair wage, and they need fair protections for their job, not to protect their job in spite of technological advancement and in spite of the system. Because the thing is that they're not going to deal with the actual problem, which is that, frankly, suits at the top of Hollywood should not be in a position to exploit you in the first fucking place.
Well, I disagree.
Also,
actually, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
So, the premise that you're saying suits are exploiting you, you're not. I disagree with the fact that they're being quote unquote exploited. Now, hear me out. Okay. Rune. You have the ability to go in and be like, here's my writing, my portfolio, you know, whatever. You're going to hire me for this. This is my rate. Right?
You actually don't.
No, you do. You
don't.
100%. No, yes, you do.
No, you actually don't.
Let me finish.
You can continue, but you actually don't have that right.
Yes, you do have a right to say this is what my right is worth. The suits have a right to say, I don't agree with you. This is what I'm going to pay you, and then you have a right to say yes or no.
No,
that's not exploitation.
That
is not exploitation.
No. See, you've missed a step here. Is that you're operating on the assumption that everyone involved is operating on an economically viable basis, right?
No, I'm not.
Which means no, you absolutely are. If I walk in with my portfolio and I go up to a guy and say, "Hey, I'll do work for you at this rate," and that's the market rate, the going rate that is the expectation for this work, you're like, well, your quality will determine whether or not you get it. So obviously he'll say yes. But the answer is actually not that. The answer is actually the corpo. The corpo will always say, will always say, do it for less, and then we'll turn around and say, well, if you say that's not good enough, right? He'll say, well, fuck off. I'll replace you. I'll find 10 more just like you who are willing to prostitute themselves out.
And he has the right to do that. That's my point.
Here's
you have no right to demand more than you have no right to demand more for a product or service than someone is willing to pay for it.
No, that's the thing. You're misrepresenting the corpo's end of it as though the corpo is an innocent, because they're not. Because they're not offering.
They're not entirely amoral.
Ayrton, if I go to the store and I want to buy a stick of gum for 10 cents, okay, we agree that the price is 10 cents, right?
No.
If I go to the store and the price on the sticker for the stick of gum is 10 cents, it's 10 cents, right?
Yes, if it says this gum is 10 cents, then yes.
Okay, so we would then agree that it is bullshit if the guy behind the store says, well, it's 10 cents for everyone else, but it's 12 cents for you.
Yes,
which
but,
is
but
what
hold on.
actually happens.
But hold on,
Right.
if they're saying this gig, this writing gig is going to pay you whatever, let's say $30,000, and you go and saying, well, my work is better than everyone else, so I deserve 35. No.
Oh no. That's
No,
certainly
no.
bullshit. That's certainly bullshit, but that's not what we're talking about.
We're talking about the fact that they will say, I'm going to pay you 40. Then they say, well, when I said 40, I really meant 25.
And while we're at it, my best friend's kid, who I just was the godfather of their thing, they get to get paid the 40 you should have got because it's my godfather's kid, and they just made a movie that's going to make me 3 times as much money. That's 3 times as bad.
So then get the offer written down contractually in writing, so they're legally obliged to pull it.
The thing is, that's not what the contract says. Because they don't agree to having a contract that obliges them to do anything.
What's more, you didn't write the contract. Their corpo lawyers wrote the contract, which means that they put the clause in that says that they have the option to on-the-spot renegotiate as they see fit for what they see fair, and you didn't see it because it's under 3 tons of legalese. You're just a writer.
Again,
And
I still think they have the right to pay you what you're only worth what somebody is willing to pay you for your good or service.
Right.
No,
we're not
you're
talking
worth
about
what the market gives.
Yeah, we're not talking about what the market's giving here. We're talking about the fact that they have a history of dealing in bad faith.
Right.
And that's why
I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying, like, it's not exploitative.
Well, no, it is exploitative. If somebody promises you X and doesn't give you X, that's an exploitation.
Yeah, it's called bait and switch.
Hold on. I think I understand where the disconnect is here. See, what both of you are saying is absolutely correct. However, what Ayrton take into consideration is that because he's been fucked in these situations before, that if he was in some kind of high-profile situation, he would have that lawyer go over the contract before he just signed it.
Well, yeah.
And the lawyer would either negotiate to scratch out the clause where I don't get paid what I'm owed in X event, or the contract would never be signed. Mm-hmm. But the problem with that is there is no other place you can go where that practice isn't taken in any high-profile industry. It happens in comic books, it happens in movies, it happens in TV shows, and fucking Broadway it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Also,
the industry itself is just so corrupt to the point where they don't have to follow any protocol or standard anymore because they control it all.
Well, it's a gig. It's not a job.
But
no, I understand that. We're talking about the people whose jobs is to get people to work these gigs.
Okay.
Right, and you want to pay them as little as possible.
No, here's the thing.
Because that's how business works.
Here's the thing. Church brought up Broadway, right? Okay. Why should a person who signed on for a gig, right, get paid the same amount as a person who just signed on when they've been doing Cats for 20 years?
Well, that kind of goes back to Ayrton's argument, though, because the thing is, they have the opportunity to walk at any point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is the entertainment industry, as Ayrton knows, is a lot of connections and things.
Yeah.
So if somebody screws you over, you don't really have any protections because if you go against Johnny's friend Saul will take that personally, and you can get yourself blacklisted.
And this is what I'm getting at, is that the problem is that if I've been working on Cats for 20 years, because, hey, Cripple Joe is all about the dance, right? And most of my...
I want to see you do
a production
of Cats
now,
please.
And most of my peers have moved on or retired, right? And they hire on a dozen 20-somethings who took less because they're eager and they don't care, right?
Yeah.
Why then should my pay be reduced to meet the new hires? I'm already here. I've already proven my capacity. And the answer is because from the corpo perspective, they can. There's nothing I can do about it. And when you say, no, that's wrong.
No,
I'm
it's not.
I'm already a paid employee. I'm already working for you, and you fucked me so that you could so that you, and you said that the reason was so because I just hired on a bunch of untrained people. How am I responsible for the untrained people?
But unless you have it legally binding that they can't do that, then I don't see the issue.
The thing is, you're not allowed to have it legally binding that they can't do that.
No, well, you can do
No,
that.
you
can
can't.
hire a lawyer.
You
Yes,
cannot
can.
do that. They will never sign that contract.
No, they never will. I'm not saying they
So
will,
that-
but you can do it.
Right. So no. So if you do that, you can't get the job. So in fact, you can't.
So then you can then you walk away.
Right.
If they
then you're
won't
not
agree
gonna
to the terms that you are saying that you are worth, then you walk away and you find another
And you
gig.
starve, Ayrton. How's that empty sandwich doing?
Again, it's not exploitative.
No,
That's my point.
It's exploitative if there's a
It's
situation
not-
in which they can bait and switch you.
I'm
A bait and
not
switch is
saying it's not-
fundamentally exploitation.
I don't know if it is.
That's why in any other form of the market, a bait and switch is illegal.
I mean, okay.
It's, a bait and switch
let's
is
go with
fraud
it.
in any other part of the market.
Let's go with it, Ayrton. So you have two choices here.
Mhm.
Okay, you're getting your deck built in a hypothetical situation where you have and want a fucking deck. Okay.
Mhm.
I mean,
And
you
it's
have
actually-
to grill, don't you?
and
you're
it's
in
actually-
Texas, you need to grill.
And it's actually three choices, but we'll get to the third one in a minute. So option one, you pay an actual qualified person to build it for you.
Mhm.
And here's a steep rate to get it done. Okay.
Mhm.
Option two, you have some unregulated contractor build it for you. He's a guy who does things. He says he might be able to do it for you at the price you want. Right? Option three, build it yourself. Well, you don't have those kinds of talents. So obviously you do the smart thing. You say, okay, I'll go with the qualified guy. I'll go with the guy who's got the proof of capacity. And that's reasonable. No one's going to fault you for that. You pay a little bit more out the top, but at least you get it done. So he gives you a quote. He says $40,000 to get your deck built. Okay, cool. I can take that loan, right? Because the contractor was saying 25, but that's 25 with no protection. There's nothing. There's no recourse if something goes wrong, right?
Mhm.
So it's day one. The guy is taking measurements for your deck, right? And he says, this is going to take 50, right? Now, logically, yes, you can walk away. That is true. Except,
But you've already taken out a loan.
right, you already took out the loan, and your options are the dude who's going to do it for 25, and it might be a shit product, and you have no way of knowing, or build it yourself, asshole, with your $40,000 loan and no skill in this area because you're not a deck builder. You don't know how they're fucking built. Or you somehow find that extra $10,000 and he smiles and takes it from you because he's a piece of shit. In major industries, especially the construction industry, that's called a bait and switch. That's illegal. In Hollywood, that's called doing business, and you eat it and you smile.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing that I think Ayrton, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Ayrton's hanging his hat on the idea that you don't have to work for Hollywood. You can just not.
Yeah, that's that's it.
But
You
here's the
don't
thing:
have to do
if you're a professional writer, anywhere you're a professional writer, that's how they treat you.
Well, that's your problem. I'm
Fuck
sorry,
you.
but that's your problem.
Well, fuck you, sir.
I mean, no, it would be the same in any industry, and we would get the same kind of treatment. The thing is the writers have a union that they can just shut down and say, we're not doing things unless we get X demand. Now, it doesn't help that usually when they do this, the demands that they set forth when they're met or when
are
there's
unreasonable and retarded. Yeah.
yes, that I was trying to avoid saying that to insult
But
writers,
m-
but
But
yeah.
most,
I mean, I'm a
but
writer.
most,
I said it. They're unreasonable
but
and
most,
retarded.
most of their demands are actually reasonable.
most
It's
of the
just-
demands are actually reasonable, except for the fact that they point out that they're still going to produce a shit product after the fact.
Right.
But here's the thing: the studios want a shitty product, and they
Which is
want
why
a
I don't
shitty
understand
product.
why anyone cares. Fuck them. That was my answer from the get-go. Fuck them all.
Mhm. And the studio wants a shitty product because the people who produce the shitty product are literally replaceable.
And where the actual problem comes in,
And that's the thing, Rune, is in your scenario with the deck building, one, if you have a legally binding bill that says he has to do this work for that price, then he has to do that work for that price. But two, if it was just like a talk, you were just talking, you have no legal binding to it. Fuck that guy. I'm gonna tell him to fuck off and go with the cheaper guy.
Mhm.
Like, I don't
But
give a
here's the
shit.
thing. Here's the thing. You were just talking to him, which is an oral contract, and you now
But-
live in the state of Texas where that's legally binding.
Well, I'm in North Carolina, but
That's also legally binding in North Carolina.
more importantly, and this is where we get to the wider problem, is as Larry said, you can't go anywhere else, okay? Because all the Hollywood corpos talk, they're all buddies, right? So when you go to another one, you say, "Hey man, I want to make a movie, right? I want to build a deck." And this guy said, I wanted 50 for it after giving me 45 or giving me 40. He's like, yeah, you better pay that 50, right? Because they know who you are now, and they know your right problem. And
I think we're all missing the greater point, though. None of this matters because what's going to happen eventually is they're going to do the same thing that comic artists or that comic book companies are doing. They're outsourcing all of their art to cheaper South American and European artists who will do shit for pennies a page.
Oh, it's true.
That's the way they'll do writing. That's the way they'll do photography. They'll bring somebody in that they can put up in a fucking cheap hotel room.
No.
No.
That's why they have the message. You can get these woke college interns to do it for less than a foreigner would do it.
that too.
That's why I literally make more money than assistant editors and writers at Marvel Comics right now.
But
that's why you make more money, Church. That's why you make more money than these people, Ayrton.
There's a thing I think we're missing that I said at the beginning. At a time, yes, there was unions played some sort of role, but nowadays they're entirely useless. We don't need Hollywood anymore. We don't need Columbia Records. We don't need Marvel Comics.
Well, we're almost at that point. We're getting very close.
That is the important part where you and I agree. Okay, Church said that it's physical labor is different. Well, it is and it isn't, because when we're talking about the abuses of corp on labor, okay, and you're talking about writers who get it in the neck consistently, then they needed a union at one time. You are also correct. That time has solidly fucking passed. It probably passed 30 years ago, the last time we had a writer's strike in Hollywood.
Oh yeah,
the big TV one that everyone seems to forget fucking happened.
Oh no, I remember.
That screwed up Hero.
The last writer's strike was 15 years ago, guys.
Oh Jesus!
Oh really? Jesus. I was talking about the one that fucked up TNG. And you have that noticeable slope in quality of your science fiction, where you had 3 years of bad science fiction followed by some really good shows because the writer's strike resolved itself. And that's the thing, is that when a union of any type ceases to serve its constituents and is no longer fighting against specific exploitation, but is instead fighting to maintain its primacy it is no longer a useful social organ.
Yeah,
Right.
which we've seen forever in
Right.
you know, coming from the Detroit area. The auto unions essentially destroyed Detroit's auto industry.
Well, a
along
lot of
with
things. A
along
lot of
with-
things destroy
Well,
industry.
I was going to say,
Well-
along with government regulation, and you know, there's a lot of things that go to it, but the unions played a huge part in
well,
that.
let's take a look at this from let's take a step back and remove our personal opinions about the
Okay.
situation just for a second and take a look at the reason there won't be a solution to this and where everyone else goes wrong when these situations come up. The what was it? About 5 years ago, there was a group of disgruntled comic creators who were predominantly claiming to be forced out of the industry for their right-leaning politics.
What?
And
That
they
that
all
happened?
they all came together on Twitter and decided to co-opt the term Comicsgate.
Yeah.
And
Would you say
Start
they
putting out-
unionized church?
and they started putting out comic books that were marketed mainly on counterculture instead of artistic style and writing prowess. Some of the creations we got out of this were good, some of them were not. And you know, a lot of small talent seemed to shine, but we've noticed that a lot of the large talent isn't producing the quality that they claim they could. Now, that wouldn't be an issue if they had used some of the massive amounts of money that they pulled together on a counterculture movement based on something very similar to exploitation in political what's the word I'm looking for? What were the political? Help me out, Larry. You're the big word guy.
I'm
Persecution,
trying-
political
Mhm.
persecution. They made millions and millions of dollars, and they had every opportunity at any point in time to start Comicsgate publishing and Comicsgate printing, where they would
Well,
own,
here's the
where they
thing.
would own their own industry, where they would be
Somebody-
able to.
Somebody
Go ahead.
did that. And you remember what happened to the Chick-fil-A tie-in comic?
No.
It came out super late.
Mhm.
Came out at
Oh
Walmart.
yeah, the
and-
chicken box comic. Yeah, Red
Yeah.
Rooster.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is going even further than that, having your own publishing arm, having your own printing arm, where everyone would be
Well,
able
no.
to umbrella, almost like
That was
a super image.
that was what Mitch was trying to do.
Yeah, it's what he was trying to do, but he didn't have the capital to do it himself, so he couldn't pull it off. And he obviously, again, like a lot of these big creators, they just didn't want to do that. What they wanted to do was continue to grift money off of people saying, "We're fighting for you," when nobody's fighting for shit except for the money out of your bank account. And that's why this writer strike is the perfect opportunity for these writers to get together and form their own publishing company or their own editorial company or their own anything, where they can come together and they can say, "Hey, we're all going to stand behind our principles." But the problem with that is there's at least half of them that'll fold.
And that brings us to the other problem. If we're using a certain gate as our example, is okay. So you have the big names who got their big money and are continuing to grift, and you know who
Yes.
you are. And you have a couple of names who are actually pretty awesome, like Don Chen, who on this very show was like, "Sure, if we have something for you to work on, we'll totally be interested in your work." And the reason I haven't followed up on it is because I'm not funny, right?
You're not their brand of funny.
I'm not their brand of funny. You know, I don't know if I would fit on the Great Cyclopean, although I suspect they'd be totally open to be like, "Sure, yeah, come work with us." What you get though when we talk about, well, you don't need Marvel and you don't need DC and you don't need Image because fuck those guys, and I agree, right? Is then you have situations like the Ripperverse and Eric July, who should be picking up that flag and leading the charge, right? And as I've stated, I sent him an email. I'm like, "Do you guys want labor? Are you looking for talent? And they were like, no, not at this time. Now, mind you, that's not at this time. Maybe at some point in the future, maybe, right? But in the meantime, for all of the, months, years, potentially decades that they don't, it's like they're making their money, but they're not helping the industry. They're helping themselves. And you
Okay,
should help
but-
yourself as a first, but there's no reason you shouldn't necessarily help other people too.
Okay,
You
but
got to build your infrastructure.
so
Yeah.
here, I'm gonna boil this down to like the simplest possible argument I can,
Right.
because I think we're going too high with it. So the reason I'm opposed to minimum wage laws, okay, besides it's the government doing it, but let's say the minimum wage, just for easy math, is $10. Okay.
Right.
And there's a store hiring, at minimum wage, and there's me and somebody else, another person. We have the exact same qualifications, exact same skill level. Everything is perfectly equal. But I say, okay, I will do this job for $8 an hour. I'm willing to do this work for $2 less an hour than this person is.
Here's the problem.
Let me finish. Why can't the store then say, like, if I'm willing, if I come in and tell them I'm willing to do that, why can't they pay me that? How is that exploitative? How is that wrong?
So here's the thing. That $8 an hour they would save on hiring you makes it harder for them to hire the next person. So exploiting you also hurts their business.
No, but it's not exploitative because
Yes, it is.
Because I'm
Yes, it
agreeing
is.
to it.
No, you're
Because
agreeing
I'm
to it.
saying I'll do it.
Right, you're saying you'll do it, but that is not what the wage floor is. You're saying I want to get less than the wage floor in my community, and that means that hiring you at that price is a marginal savings. It's even less of a savings when you factor in taxes and health insurance. Most of the pay raise difference between 10 and 8 an hour is going to get eaten up in taxes and health insurance. So they're not actually saving any money.
The other facet is, okay, and I'm going to use your classroom example. I don't want to add on things like healthcare. We're going to assume both able-bodied, never going to get hurt, never going to get sick, $10 an hour flat, solid. Okay, fine. You say you want 8, or you'll take 8. Okay, you get your job. You're good. That's great. Okay. I want a job. Same industry, same situation, same setup. Right? The only way I get that job is I either say I'll take 7, right? Or I take 8. Even if my work is in some fashion more demanding than yours. Right?
No, I'm saying the exact same job, like everything exactly.
No, I'm saying, using your classroom example.
Not. You can't say that your job is more demanding though.
I didn't.
And you're taking. The
I
same.
didn't. I said if in some fashion. Meaning, I took, if I take 8, because 8's what's offered, right? And then unforeseen difficulties arise, and I need more. Well, that's not their problem. That's too fucking bad. Which admittedly is true. No, I just said admittedly is true. Right? But the thing is that you have to answer the question, why was it 10 to begin with?
But realistically, Jeff Bezos has already destroyed the minimum wage argument.
Among other things.
I don't know. Even with the healthcare argument, which again I think is gay to force companies to pay for healthcare too. But
but I was actually segueing to a different argument. Jeff Bezos has destroyed the minimum wage in this country. If you don't pay what Amazon pays, you're not going to get good, reliable employees. So you have to pay what Amazon pays to be competitive to get any quality out of your employees. Or else you're getting people who aren't good enough to throw shit on Amazon box line.
What the fuck is Ironbrick talking about?
Could you pull it up?
What the fuck is this? I'm sorry. I was following conversation. I looked over at chat, and now I am just.
That seems like an aside.
I don't even know what this is, and my brain is just full of fuck now.
So let's talk about Free Comic Book Day. You know, this channel used to talk about comic books.
Oh, I miss those halcyon days.
So
you know, I
went
totally
to my...
forgot. I totally forgot it was Free Comic Book Day. I would
So
I didn't. I was just bitter because there's no comic book store near me now, so I can't go get free comic books.
Do you mean before the dark times? Before the Powerpuff Girls?
So I went to my local comic book shop. The employee who worked there maybe a day or two, maybe 3, didn't know where my bag was because as a subscriber at the store, I have a bag that's pulled for me. And I went and got a bag full of comic books. In fact, you see all these comic books in this link right here? I got all of them except for the one with that little parrot thing. I didn't get that one.
Oh, okay. Hold
yeah.
on, let me pull that up.
And I didn't get the Overstreet Guide to Collecting Comics, which is good because it's terrible to have in your Free Comic Book Day bag. So I got all of these books that you see here. So of all of these books you see here, how many went straight to the bin? That'll be a fun game.
70%.
All right, so I'll tell you the ones that didn't go straight to the bin. Ranger Academy. It's a Power Ranger comic book. I read that one. It was...
Wait, the Umbrella Academy or / The Witcher? What?
No, there's also a Witcher
feature in it.
It's a 2 comic book.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the Ranger Academy didn't get thrown away. The Umbrella Academy / Witcher didn't get thrown away. Red Sonja didn't get thrown away.
I bet it didn't.
Conan the Barbarian didn't get thrown away.
Mad Balls versus Pet Garbage Pail Kids look pretty cool.
Also didn't get thrown away.
I am sad to see that Star Trek book that I'm sure will never get read.
I threw that away. Trojan X Rooster Fighter did get thrown away. Animal Castle didn't get thrown away. Look at that kitty cat in the cage there. It was interesting. The Fright Night book didn't get thrown away, mainly because I have a soft spot for the Fright Night movie. Mech Cadets got thrown away. Star Wars The High Republic, that definitely got thrown away. Mexi-Kid, thrown in the trash. The Fabulous Freak Brothers, I respect the art and its history in comics, but that got thrown away. Investigators, Babysitter's Little Sister, Ninja Turtles didn't get thrown away. Sacrificers didn't get thrown away. The thing is about all of these comic books, let me see, is there anyone else? This vaguely pulp sci-fi book, that also one didn't get pulled away. I could barely read what it actually says there, and I don't want to get up and pull my copy. Didn't get thrown away.
What about the Smurfs?
Thrown away. Stanley autobiography comic. Thrown away.
Wait,
really?
Wait. What?
It's just an autobiography of Stan Lee. I don't even
say that. It says a graphic biography. It doesn't even say autobiography.
I mean, Stan Lee said he wrote a lot of things. He could certainly have written that book after he was dead.
That's fair. Hey, there's a RuneScape comic? Fuck yeah.
Also didn't get thrown away. Street Fighter
what about the
didn't
best
get
comic
thrown
ever?
away.
Was that any good?
I don't know. I threw it away.
Okay.
What about Animal Crossing /
Thrown away. So of the comics I didn't throw away, Ranger Academy was kind of neat. It's it's formulaic. It's a bunch of kids going to superhero school, but with Power Rangers. It was kind of neat. Umbrella Academy was kind of weird, but I mean, Umbrella Academy's weird. Red Sonja was Red Sonja. Two different stories of her doing Red Sonja adventures. That was a good time. The Conan book was interesting to me because That's the new Titan Comics run on Conan, which the Howard estate has partnered with Titan Comics. So this is not only just officially licensed, the estate is an actual partner. So I'm very interested to see how that one goes. It's not really in depth. It's basically, hey, I know you saw that Arnold Schwarzenegger Conan movie. I hope you didn't see that Jason Momoa Conan movie. I mean, Jason Momoa probably could have been a good Conan, but that was not a good movie.
Yeah.
But this is what Conan is. This is what Conan's world is all about. We're just giving you a little taste. Trojan X was, a Japanese kind of comic. It was fine. The Animal Castle is kind of neat little animal art. Fright Night book was, a licensed IP exploitation. Wasn't really interested. Mad Balls versus Garbage Pail Kids is exactly what you would expect. I was happy with that because basically, you look at that cover, that's exactly what you get on the inside of the book.
Okay.
Ninja Turtles book was a bunch of Ninja Turtles crossing over from different cartoon eras of Ninja Turtles.
Ugh.
I actively hate that. The first 3 times that was done was interesting. We're well past the first 3 times at this point. I want to reiterate, I threw Marvel Voices away. I do want to reiterate that. The thing that looked like the Frazetta-verse was awesome because it's Frank Frazetta inspired art. So it was awesome. I mean, it could have been written in frickin' Esperanto. It would have been awesome. RuneScape was okay. Street Fighter book was, lower mid for Street Fighter books.
Oh wait, I missed this one. The battle for Pumpkin King.
I threw that away because I don't really like The Nightmare Before Christmas that much.
Yeah, the songs are fun. That's about it.
This artwork also doesn't look near as ghoulish as it should.
No.
Entirely
Nope.
too friendly looking.
But yeah, so I got comics for free comic book day, and some of them were good. And my local comic book shop employee didn't know that people who were subscribers had bags with comics that were pre-pulled for them. So I had to find a manager. Luckily, there was a manager there, or else I was going to be extremely pissed.
Is this when you said you need to fire some employees there?
I that was when I said I needed to fire some employees there. I was unhappy. So we have talked about comics on the Gospel of Comics, and I've actually subscribed to the Titan Conan. So I'm going to be reviewing Titan Conan. So that is going to be something that's regularly going to happen.
All right.
Also, I have another comic that is going to be in my pull box. It's going to be a Marvel comic that's in my pull box.
Oh damn!
And I'm going to give you a news article about it because my boy Brian Edward Hill, who's a friend on Twitter, he's doing a Blade comic book, and basically, even the comic books that Brian Edward Hill has told me, man, you don't need to read that if you don't want to. Even those I've had a good time with. So he's writing a Blade book. I'm gonna go read that. When they rebooted Vertigo and everybody else got canceled, Brian Edward Hill got to finish out his run on Vertigo.
Wait, hold on. I'm so confused about these ads. Why is there an octopus baby?
It's a comic book website, so they have to advertise sex toys.
Why is an octopus baby a sex toy? I'm so confused.
Why isn't an octopus baby a sex toy?
Exactly.
Because there's a baby in it, guys. That's just weird.
Yeah. What? And what the hell is this? Is this supposed to be a portable? What?
It's
looks
a
like a
dilator.
cheese grater I can smack somebody with.
No,
I do.
It looks like a portable soundboard almost.
Yeah, but scroll up so we can show everybody. There's going to be a Blade comic. It's going to be coming out in July.
I'm
is this,
one of these
did they
ads.
finally get the guy from the TV show Luke Cage? Did they finally get him
Wait.
in the Blade outfit?
No,
No.
they went with a different.
Thank God.
Oh no, yes, they did. That is the actor until they replace him. They got a
But
new
I-
director though.
But I do want to end the section where we talk about comics with something that calls back on something Papa Church
okay.
mentioned.
I see.
Uh,
Wait, I see what this thing is. It's one of those fancy screwdrivers that has like 100 different bits on it, and you only use 4 of them. Okay.
So I do want to end our section talking about comics, talking about something relevant to something Papa Church just mentioned earlier. There's this thing called the Peter Principle, which says you're supposed to rise to your level of maximum incompetence. But apparently that doesn't work for Heather Antos. Heather Antos got promoted in IDW Publishing. IDW Publishing went bankrupt.
There's no ceiling for incompetence when it comes to Heather Antos, though.
So
the sky is literally the limit.
IDW Publishing
but
not
guys,
only went bankrupt.
I would.
I would. But IDW Publishing. IDW Publishing not only went bankrupt, they went so bankrupt they were removed from the New York Stock Exchange. So Heather Antos is now responsible for all of the licensed content that's going to go into IDW comic books until it vanishes from the face of the earth.
Well,
so
now did they hire her? Hold on, did they hire her just because she's the only person they could afford after going bankrupt?
No. No. They promoted her. Her.
Hold on, Larry. You're the most important thing. I need this question answered. Does that mean Bloodshot Comics might be good again?
Well, I mean, she's left Valiant a while ago.
I haven't bought anything since she worked there.
And it takes a while to like scrub her stain off of a publisher.
Yeah.
So.
But basically, she's going to be handling all the licensed comics that go through IDW because big companies don't want to pay a lot for licensed comics. So look forward to anything that's licensed going to IDW becoming gay. Optimus Prime, gonna be gay. It's gonna happen.
G.I. Joe?
Larry,
I've
seen that.
You forget. Optimus Prime isn't gay, he's trans.
But just remember, Decepticon is transphobic.
Right.
Well, no. Remember?
No. They're the male to female.
Did you guys not see the Flash get spit?
No.
Yeah. Oh my God! You guys have never seen that animation?
Oh yeah.
Megatron got boobs. He likes to feel pretty. You can't judge.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that. Okay.
But yeah, so I don't know why Heather Antos keeps getting work.
We've missed the biggest topic of the week, so
well, what's the biggest topic?
What's the topic we missed?
DSP is no longer part of the LolCal podcast with Wings of Redemption and
Oh,
Boogie
that's
298.
right.
Yeah,
DSP doesn't consider himself a LolCal, guys.
Which is itself pretty lol.
Oh, I mean, speaking of that, we do have something LolCal related. We have a news alert from the Kiwi Farms. It's in the DM message chat.
Yeah, let's see if we can get on the Kiwi Farms right now.
All right, hold on. Just throwing that up real quick.
Because I want to order.
Right,
I want to order both.
The
I want to order. There's actually an image in the thing. Just go to kiwifarms.net. But I want to go to a website.
If you can.
Let me see.
It's not loading for me, boys.
Yeah, there's some problems.
Yeah.
Which is related to what I have as the image.
Yeah, it's not working for me either. Where's the image?
It's in the DM group.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, keep going. Oh, I see it. Okay, gotcha.
So we do have an update about the status of Kiwi Farms. That Kiwi Farms has defeated all of the people from Destiny that were trying to shut them down for being transphobic. But there is one person who Kiwi Farms has documentation of allegedly this person raping somebody. And there are various threats that Kiwi Farms has documented that are
This
listed in
image
this
is
image.
not blowing up well. Anyways,
Well,
continue.
no, it's not. Because I had to get that image off of Telegram.
Oh, gotcha.
So there is a former Google employee who had been accused of rape that has been going on a terroristic campaign of threats to shut down Kiwi Farms. Has been not only threatening companies, threatening company employees, threatening company executives, making various terroristic threats to try to prevent internet service providers from allowing you to order small flightless birds from New Zealand and fruit, which is a really weird flex. And we need to have a choice on the internet. There are laws that say, you're not allowed to make terroristic threats against data centers. Literally, that's a serious terrorism. That you're literally not allowed to threaten to murder and rape employees' families. Because again, that's terrorism. And just because you don't like the politics of the person that that the threats are being used to silence, that's why we have a First Amendment. So people just don't say, hey, listen, I don't like what you think or say or do, so I'm going to commit acts of violence to prevent you from being able to do so.
I'm just looking into this. It's wild as shit. Like, this Liz Fong Jones person is apparently the accused person who's getting them blacklisted from IFPs. It's kind of fascinating, but no, it looks like Kiwi Farms is down for the moment. I don't know. Josh has pretty much bested everyone eventually. So that motherfucker is just. I would never bet against Josh Moon when it comes.
Not only does Joshua Connor Moon defeat all challengers, Joshua Connor Moon is able to make Chris Chan stop acting crazy.
But I wouldn't put money against him in this particular situation.
Oh no, Ayrton! Like literally, people have called up Joshua Connor Moon to talk to Chris, and Chris stopped acting crazy and started behaving.
Oh,
he's a Sonichu Whisperer.
I'm well aware.
I'm sorry, did you describe him as the Chan Whisperer?
No, the
Sonichu Whisperer. Yes,
the Sonichu Whisperer.
And Kiwi Farms literally raised money to keep Chris and his mom from starving to death.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that also led to Chris raping his mom, which wasn't cool.
And weirdly enough, I don't remember much of so far where we're at with Gino Samuel's documentary series talking about like what Josh actually did to help Chris.
I mean, Josh has been a little busy.
Yeah, but my point isn't Gino around that time frame where Josh started jumping in? Shouldn't he be talking about that?
Right, but you see, to do that, you have to talk to the people involved when you're making the documentary, and and Kiwi Farms has been catching a lot of fire lately.
Yeah.
So, Church, did you have any content you wanted to provide to the show this week?
I mean, you did.
Oh yeah, he did. That's right.
I mean,
you're right.
Yeah, DSP got kicked off the Lolcow podcast. I'm trying to find out what he needs to apologize for, because all I'm seeing is that
he wasn't like answering emails. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't fucking answer emails. I'm not apologizing for that.
You barely answer the Twitter chat when we're getting the show ready each week.
Look, man, it can't be fucked. What do you want from me? Typing's hard.
Also, Free RPG Days coming up, and my friendly local comic/game store has been trying to guilt trip me into running something.
And also, we should be having BC 14 of Trump versus Illuminati fame on the show soon.
Oh
You're nailing that down.
Oh, I got
I
it nailed
mean-
down. We just have to decide when he's coming on. He's already down to come on. So
I mean, I did the thing.
You watched the thing?
I watched the thing.
hell yeah.
You didn't
How do you
tell me
feel-
that Bigfoot was Sammy Davis Jr., man.
I mean,
That's what makes it special.
It was special, all right.
Did you
The-
just
the-
watch the Trump one, or did you watch any of the others yet?
I watched the first one. I've got to
Oh,
work
okay.
up the energy to watch the others.
Because I'm probably gonna watch a couple this week, so I'll let you know when I'm watching them.
Did you
The-
guys
the big
hear
thing
that
is-
I'll stream them to Discord.
Did you guys hear that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. committed suicide today?
I did not.
no.
Suicide.
Yeah.
quote
He
unquote.
committed suicide with 2 to the back of the head sometime next week by saying that the CIA rigs election and assassinates leader who's refused to
In,
comply with their
Well, I
agenda.
mean,
In Minecraft,
mean-
you mean?
no, I mean, he can't get in trouble for that because John Bolton already said that. And
No,
not only
no,
did
no,
he say
but-
that, not only did he say that, he said, "I personally did that."
No, but here's the thing: Kennedys have a bad habit of breaking out in headshots.
Or getting drunk and having the chick drowned.
Yeah. Or getting fucked by Arnold Schwarzenegger. None of these things are good.
I mean, we've all been there with all three of those, right, guys?
I mean, actually, right now, a Kennedy's getting fucked by Chris Pratt, technically.
True.
Look,
All right, with that.
Look, the Kennedys came to this great land, escaping the tribulations of Ireland, to make a lot of money and then collapse like a flan in a cupboard.
And have a weird family accent that nobody else in the world has.
Nobody else.
Like, what's up with that?
Well, what they have is
They're
actually
aliens,
an Irish. Well, no. They have an Irish version of the Mid-Atlantic accent. Do you know
Okay,
what the Mid-Atlantic accent is?
Transatlantic? Is that what you mean?
No, Mid-Atlantic.
Oh, I was thinking like transatlantic from like the 20s or 30s.
No. So what it is they made an accent that was made to be both an amalgam of American and British English, so that
I thought
nothing
that
would
was
sound weird.
I thought that was what transatlantic was.
It's sometimes called Mid-Atlantic. I don't
Oh.
remember. But yeah, so that was the thing that they came up with
Oh.
early radio and movies.
Yeah, okay, we are talking about the same thing.
Yeah. So the Kennedys just do a version of that where it sounds Irishy.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Not if I'm thinking about doing like a JFK voice, that's exactly how I would do it.
Because if you think about it, Papa Joe was U.S. Ambassador to Great Britain. Oh, shoot. I saw something else that I wanted to review, but I'll review that next week. Unless I talked about it. Did I talk about the Diplomat show last show?
I don't think so.
Well, I'll talk about it next week and
Okay.
double check to make sure we didn't do it last week.
All right. Anyways, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.